Hey everyone, Board Game Brody here with Meeple Mountain. I have a fresh-made copy of Shake That City. It's a city building tile placement game by AEG. And I'm going to get straight into this game. So each player will use a player board with bonus tiles that are placed along two sides and along one of the corners. And all players will orientate their boards and tiles in the same way, using the same cardinal directions, regardless of which way each player is actually facing or sitting around the table. This is where your city will be built using tiles to place one on each square space. While building, players can gain these bonus points by completing either end of that tile, one side or the other. So on all bonus tiles, except for the corner tile, there is one half of the tile where you can gain the listed points by placing any tiles in all 6 squares in that row or in that column. That is this white bonus with 6 squares. On the other side, you will need to have at least 4 tiles of the indicated type. The gray tiles are roads, the green tiles are parks, the black tiles are factories, and the blue tiles are shops, and the red tiles are homes. This other bonus tile means you need to have at least 4 different tiles in this row or column. And the corner tile is awarded for having at least 2 of each type of tile all in your city altogether. Besides the corner bonus tile, you only need to complete one side or the other of that tile, not both. And doing both won't give you twice the number of points, so focus on one side or the other as the game progresses. This is the round tracker here, and there are 15 total rounds in the game. Rounds 13, 14, and 15 are slightly different than normal rounds, but I will come back and explain how they work differently. So players will take turns in a clockwise direction, and on a player's turn, they will shake cubes using the cube shaker to deposit a set of 9 cubes out onto the table. This is probably one of the coolest things about this game. No one knows what colors will show up and in what orientation, but it's always fun to use the cube shaker. So 9 cubes will come out in a 3x3 pattern, and it should always be orientated to match the orientation of everyone's player board, never at an angle. Each color cube matches to a type of tile that you can possibly place on your board. And remember, the gray are the roads, that makes sense. Green are parks, the trees, okay. Black are factories from all the pollution. Blue are shops, and red are homes. The active player will study the 3x3 pattern of those cubes and choose a color that they would like to add to their player board. Now, no other player can choose the same color as the active player, and all other players will choose any other color that the active player did not choose. And those players can pick the same colors, just not the same as the active player. So after choosing a color, you will take the same number of the matching colored building tiles as cubes and place them on your player board following some of these placement rules. Each tile can only be placed on an empty space on your player board. You have to place the tiles in the same pattern, the same configuration, and the same orientation as shown by the cubes. No rotating, flipping, or reconfiguring to make a new pattern. You have to place all tiles from the color and the pattern that you choose. If it cannot fit, you must then choose a different building color that will fit. And you can never choose not to place tiles when you can. Later in the game, if there is no building color in the pattern of cubes that will fit on your board, then you will not place any cubes on that turn. Once tiles are placed, they are never moved, removed, or covered up. After all players have placed their tiles, then that round is over and the round marker moves once to the next round and the next player goes. Active players will have the first dibs on certain colors in the shown pattern when it's their turn, but on all other players' turn, they will also get to place cubes and have several options, but one color will be off limits by that active player. On rounds 13, 14, and 15, all players can choose any color in the pattern, including the same color as the active player. After 15 rounds, the game ends and players will count up their score. Players will add up their bonus points from all of their completed bonus tiles, and they will add up that score to their tiles that score. Now, there are 2 sides of the player board here. This is the landlocked board, and this is the beachfront. And each tile will score differently depending on what side of the board that you're playing on. You first will probably need to play on the landlocked side, and so I will explain scoring for that side right now. But if you play the beachfront side, you can read how those tiles change and how they are scored when you play it on your own. So the roads score 1 point per road that leads to the edge of the board, and roads need to be orthogonally adjacent to each other to score, no diagonal. So a road in the middle of your board can score, but only if there is other road tiles that lead it to one of the edges of the board. Parks score up to 2 points each. They will score 1 point if adjacent to any number of factories, and 1 point if adjacent to any number of homes. If adjacent to a home and a factory, it will score 2 points. If adjacent to 2 homes or just 2 factories, it will still only score 1 point. Factories can score up to 2 points each. They earn 1 point if adjacent to any number of factories, and 2 points if adjacent to any number of roads. So 2 points if the factory is next to both a factory and a road. Shops only score if connected to the edge of the board, either by being adjacent to the edge or being placed next to a road that leads to the edge of the board. Shops will score the number of points depending on which zone that they're located in. The middle gray section is 3 points, the brown section is 2 points, and the green section is 1 point. Homes will score 2 points for each single home or each group of adjacent homes. So homes do better when placed on their own. Big groups will not help you score more points. So if a home is adjacent to a factory, then it will score 0 points instead. So watch out for that. So what does this all mean? Well, you want factories to be next to another factory and next to roads, but those roads need to lead to the edge of the board. Parks want to be next to the factories as well, and also next to homes, but homes don't want to be next to the factory. So a good tile to place between a home and a factory is a park. And of course, those roads that you build anywhere along those, you also want shops. And further inward, the more points you get for those shops. And if you do all that while also fulfilling your bonus tiles, then you will have a very beautiful city. One that the cube shaker itself will be proud of. And you will have a high probability to win the game. And well, that's Shake That City. So some tips. You have 15 rounds in the game, so you don't need to always choose a color that has the most cubes out. This will possibly just cause you to skip turns later on in the game. You are building a city, and sometimes this just takes more precision, more time to do so. But turns where you do place more tiles at a time will also give you rounds near the end of the game to place just 1 or 2 tiles at a time of a certain color if the cube shaper ever presents it to you as an option. But overall, don't rush. Take your time in building and plan things out. You might feel a little tiny towns in this game, and in tiny towns, it always got tense and harder near the end. And that's the same thing with this game. And you have less control over what the cube shaker might give you. But at least it's within a 3x3 pattern for you to place somewhere on your player board. They're not going to be all spread out. Also know that you're most likely not going to be able to score every tile that you place on your board, nor get every bonus tile that is out there. So you will be calculating possible moves to see which might benefit you the most. And you can get lucky and score all bonus tiles and also place your tiles in very good positions, but the cube shaker is very unpredictable and cubes return back into it each time. So really it's impossible to do the math and figure out your chances of certain cubes coming out. Games can really focus more on a certain color from game to game because it's all kind of random. So some games you might do better than other games. But while playing that game session, every player has the same results from the cube shaker. So games can be different each time you play, but it's hard to compare one game to another when different tiles and colors have come out. So this game has a lot of similarities, I think, with Tiny Towns. So if you know Tiny Towns, then Shake That City here, they gave me similar feelings. They are different games. They're not the same game, but similar enough to compare the two. So overall, I think Shake That City is a great game. It has a lot of the AEG feel to it and things that you're gonna like about the game. It does have some similarities to other games, but it's still its own game. And I think what I really like about it is it has that family weight. It has the cube shaker that's awesome to play with, and you're building a city. Overall, we really like this game. We're going to be playing with it. My family have had a great time playing it. So shake cubes and build your city with your family and friends in Shake That City by AEG. Again, this is Board Game Brody, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Stick around and check out some other board game reviews to see what you might want to get to the table.